The sun had crawled high into the sky. The ground was still thick with mud, but their feet no longer sank so deeply.
I think we should have brought food.
There are a few meals in my backpack.
When were you going to share that information?
When I felt safe again.
Hector, we aren't all as capable as you in the regard of stamina. We need a break.
Hector turned to Prude, who nodded. Taking stock of herself, Ash was surprised to find she was far less tired than she should be. Had Elfinod been assisting her through the night? Judging by the ragged nature of both him and his pair, she doubted it. She dared not say it, but the pursuant Grey Mage may be responsible for her vigor. Ash felt a hint of pride as the thought did not send a shiver down her spine. She was getting better at suppressing those. Hector retrieved a number of capped pitchers, clearly stolen from the cafeteria, and began to offer them around.
The stew from yesterday. When did you get this?
The young cook who watched the ritual gave them to me. I suppose he was as aware as anyone else as to the events that were about to transpire.
Ash raised her eyebrows.
Hey, speaking of transpiring, what happened last night? What's so scary about someone in a pale cloak?
Belinda? That's the traditional garb of a gray mage.
Belinda's eyes darted the way they came, and she slowly took a draw from her pitcher.
We made enough tracks that a blind child could follow us.
Hiding won't work on a Grey Mage. They can sense magic in much the way the Rod of Finding can.
That's why we were so keen to run, Belinda.
Then why did we stop?
Belinda took a long draw from her pitcher and offered it back to Hector. She drew.
Let's go!
As she stood up, is what that said. The rest of the group emulated the gesture.
We need to move quickly.
Why is a gray mage interested in us?
I haven't had a choice in a while. Boop. Oh god, since this! Remember that? Oof. 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 Oops. No, what? No. Okay. Maybe because of me? But we don't know who I'm bonded to. So maybe because of Hector. I'm gonna just go with the safe route.
Because it's after me.
Silence fell across the group.
I agree.
Another silence echoed.
Wait, why would...
My mark. There's a chance that I am paired to a gray mage.
The silence continued, deafening. The sun had begun to crawl skyward before they stopped again. Prude raised one hand, the group halting at the command, too exhausted to question it. Placing a finger to her lips, she gestured for silence. The group quickly made to rest. Belinda removed her shoes to find raw, bloodied feet. The rest of the group fared better, most at least, marginally calloused, though Ash's feet were still red and cracked.
Owie.
Belinda grew silent with a single look from Prude. When had she assumed such command of their group? Hector cocked his head, turning silently toward Prude, who pressed her ear to the earth. A moment passed.
Beats.
There!
Following Elfinod's finger, Ash saw a small force of mounted infantry in the distance. Above them flew a black flag with an intricate white pattern.
Mom?
How would your mother know that we were here?
Oh, I asked a friend to send a messenger bird on the way out. I didn't want to walk the entire distance.
What?
Belinda! I could kiss you!
Belinda flushed and spoke under her breath.
No complaints here. Please do.
The man missed the comment and Ash grimaced. That would definitely not end well. The others appeared to have missed the comment as well as they raised their voices and waved. Try to warn her. Try to warn Prude? Wait, I'm confused. Try to warn who? Try to warn her? About the smoochin'? Try to warn her about her mom? Who am I warning about what? What are we doing? I guess keep quiet since I don't know what I'm responding to. Ash grimaced. And the moment passed. Wait, I don't understand. It popped up on her. Maybe, okay, I should have,
Belinda, do you have a moment?
Oh, okay, it is in regards to, well, this is probably fine. Ash gently pulled Belinda away from the group.
Yes?
This is totally not the time to be doing this because we're about to be saved, but She hesitated for a moment, but finally mustered the words.
I just wanted to warn you. I don't think Elfnod is interested in you.
Don't worry, I have my ways.
Belinda heaved her chest suggestively.
I don't think they're the right ways.
I appreciate your concern, but I am fine.
Ash stared at her for a moment before she caught back up with the group.
They must have been riding full tilt since the other day, even through that rain.
Let us pray they might continue that pace. We need a way to ensure we can escape that damnable Grey Mage.
What if Belinda's the Grey Mage? Anyways, turning behind, Hector threw both hands into the air in an obscene gesture toward the empty plains behind them.
Find us now, shit-slingers!
Whoa.
Oh, I like that one.
Finally learning curses?
It's what Mother would want.
The cavalry seemed to spot them and course-corrected toward their band. The group seemed to breathe a collective sigh, and removing their minimal provisions, they finished off the now ice-cold stew. The Mudskipper Inn had always been considered quaint and simple. While the beer was well stocked and the beds warm, it would never be considered appropriate for royalty. When the royal guard arrived with the Princess of Celeste and her entourage, the innkeeper found himself debating the merits of asking them to leave, simply because he lacked appropriate accommodations. Upon actually seeing the disheveled, muddy heap of a princess, he reconsidered, and wondered what conditions she might have suffered before now.
And make sure that you have all the men housed inside. Sleep in the cellar if you need to. The sky looks foul above us.
But make sure to have 2 guards on duty at all times, with frequent turnovers. We may be hunted, and after only a day's travel, I would not question if the Grey Mage could still catch us.
Yes, milady. Yes, my lord.
Yes, my lord.
I'm not a lord.
Hector made to follow the guard and correct him, but Prude placed her hand on his shoulder.
You are. You're married to a lady. Precedent is that you are now a lord.
What hell is frozen that Hector is now a lord?
Aren't you the son of a king or something, Elfnod? Does that mean I'm a princess?
No, my father is an elected official.
What does that make you?
Nothing at all.
Belinda looked disappointed at that. The group settled quickly, retreating into a familiar efficiency. Before long, they were bathed and groomed, meeting once more in the center of the inn, where the innkeeper was quick to have his son serve them. An odd, knowing glance fired between Elfnod and the younger man, entirely missed by Belinda, despite the fact that she did not take her eyes off him once. Warm bread and tall glasses of mead slowly filling their bellies left the group in a particularly chipper mood.
Throwing you out to school won't mean war or anything, correct?
Hardly. There's an unfortunately large amount of precedent for expelling princesses.
Milady, the king asked that we send a message back upon your arrival to a safe place. Would you be so kind as to write something for her?
Aww. She's a lady, but she's called the king instead of the queen.
Of course. I'll be right back.
Prude walked away, and Hector turned to Ash.
Are you a lady, Veronica?
No. My mother was a servant, and shortly after I turned 3, I became the princess's playmate. And don't call me that.
What is Prude's father like?
I never knew. He died before she was even born.
Ah, then the queen remarried?
No. The king is Prude's mother.
So the king was once a woman?
No, she's still a woman.
So it's a title then?
Yes, exactly.
Then would that make Prudence a prince?
Hector's asking the real questions.
And would it, under the circumstances that we were to wed, make me a princess?
I don't think that's quite how it works.
Princess Hector. I think it suits you better than the title of head.
I agree. I look forward to the marriage.
Hector did not respond, instead retreating into thought. Before any further jokes could be had at his expense, Prude returned. She looked at her pair, still deep in thought.
Oh no, what did you get into his head?
Prudence, I am afraid I cannot marry you. While I do not mind being a princess, I simply cannot handle any excess of pink. And I find dresses far too restrictive of movement.
What?
Hector opened his mouth to explain, but Prude interrupted him with a finger to his lips. She kissed him on the forehead and sat across his lap.
Don't try to explain. I prefer to keep your inner workings a mystery.
Ash felt a twang of jealousy as the two grew close, but for once it was not specific to a lust for Prude. It was the fact that she was sitting so close to a happy couple. Jealousy pulled at her heart. Belinda elbowed Ash and beckoned for her to lean down, where she whispered in Ash's ear.
I found the prettiest princess on top of a pile of his books at the library the other day.
Ash raised her eyebrows. That explained a few things. Belinda hiccuped and then smiled at her before turning back to the conversation.
I think I need to step away for a moment.
In unison, the quartet raised their mugs in a sort of mock salute as she departed, the motion almost toppling Belinda, who had ingested a fair bit more than the others. Some called alcohol liquid courage. Ash hoped Belinda did not find enough to make a fool of herself to Elfinod. Ash led herself out the front door and watched her breath curl outwards in a white fog as she let out a sigh. The night was far colder than the last two had followed them here. Fortune had favored them that they could find shelter from the chill. Ash's eyes turned upwards, toward the dancing snowflakes fluttering like a sea of shooting stars in the reflection of the inn's lamps.
Beautiful.
She spent a time in night's silence, appreciating the beauty when the significance of the world around her finally dawned. Silence. Given the number of men that were with them, and the fact that they should still be busy stabbing horses, or stabling, I was like, stabbing horses? Got it now. They should still be busy stabling horses. The silence was an anomaly. A horse still in its saddle began to walk slowly past, dipping down to chew at a patch of the sparse vegetation. In the distance, she saw a figure in a pale cloak.
No.
Fear held her still for a moment before the hot blood of panic drove her to move. Running back inside, Ash found her companions asleep in the den of the inn. Already? Nestled in a motley assortment about the furniture which surrounded the hearth. The warmth struck her with a wave of exhaustion the cold had edged back. She did not let it consume her.
Wake up!
Hector and Prude were on their feet with a swift and practiced ease, both in battle stances, and Hector's left hand a knot of black energy. Elfinod fell out of the seat with Belinda falling shortly after.
The Grey Mage found us. The guards are gone.
Nonsense, the men are just...
He paused as he cocked his head. Could he hear the silence from in here? Hadn't he noticed the hoofbeats earlier? She quashed the thought as he reached for his pack, still at his
We
side.
need to get to the horses.
They should be in the stables. We must move quickly.
The guard opened the door, keeled over, and a blackened ooze began to pour from his opened mouth. Hector drew his sword, handing his pack to Prudence.
Run! I will hold it off.
Oh, hell no. Dude, come on. No way.
Like hell you will.
Ash did not even give Hector a chance to register her words, grabbing his cloak from behind and dragging him past her. She freed the sword from his hand in a swift flourish and hefted it. The balance was perfect. It was light and suited her. She couldn't help but wonder for a heartbeat why Heck would have a sword like
Ash.
this.
No. This is my demon to face. This is my battle to fight. Take Prude and get out of here.
Ash turned away
Keep
from
her
him.
safe.
The doorway filled with the silhouette of the pale, tan cloak. Ash aimed the blade toward the mage's neck. She heard the footsteps fade quickly as they escaped. Slowly, with a practiced ease, the gray mage threw back its hood. A face stained black by necrosis, though still as animate as a living man's, met her gaze with white, glazed eyes. The man sneered.
Hello, girl.
His eyes flicked to her blade, and his sneer seemed to deepen.
Do you know what it is you hold?
Admittedly, not in any particular sense. Obviously, it's a sword.
A sword, she says. Does she not know what she holds? Arla? No, of course she wouldn't.
A shiver ran down Ash's spine, and for once, she did not struggle to suppress it.
Yeah, I'm going to assume Arla is your pair whose organs you stole.
Stole? No. We became as one.
Ash really did not want to hear this. She drove forward, concentrating all her effort into driving the blade home. Inside her, she felt a fire burst to life, and all at once she felt as light as the air itself. The distance between them was gone in a heartbeat, and the blade tore the air directly beside the gray mage. She had missed, her balance thrown off by her long
Light
dress.
and shadow.
She didn't let him finish the sentence, bringing her blade down hard. Ash felt flesh tear as the gray mage leapt back, his milky eyes wide. Her advantage, and by extension herself, would only survive as long as she pressed the attack. If the mage had more than a moment to recover, the gap in their power would become apparent. She pulled back for another swing when she noticed the knot of black arching toward her. Desperately, Ash flung herself, trying to evade. The black bolt struck her on the side of her throat as she began to choke. Weakness took her, and her grip gave out, the blade clattering to the ground. She gasped, but her breath found no purchase.
Impressive. I hadn't imagined the sword would give you access to both pools.
His words meant nothing as she clawed at her own throat, desperate for air. He loomed over her.
A beautiful specimen. It is unfortunate you are already paired. I could use a heart as strong as yours.
Somehow, amidst it all, she looked at his hands. His mark was twisted, so abstract she couldn't tell its shape. This was not her pair. A weight lifted from her, and she tore out the tiniest gasp.
Strange you should seem so revulsed by a gray mage when you travel with one.
Oh! Hector. Hector was a gray mage. She had been right, but how? Why? Prude. Her hands closed around a hilt. When had she even begun to grasp for it? Her next move was more swift than her addled mind could begin to follow. The blade dashed through his neck, his jaw, up through his skull, and out the top as easily as a sword into the soft muck of the training field. The gray mage stood for a moment as though unsure. He convulsed, and then collapsed.
Did I just win?
The response was immediate.
You little bitch!
Ah! The creature surged forth, grabbing her blade and wrenching it free, a black ichor leaking from the wound she had dealt.
Ah!
Ash desperately groped for a weapon, anything. All she found was one of her roses, still fresh, its black petals a stain of dark on the already poorly lit room. She breathed in the smell, searching for strength, and to her surprise, she found it. Something seemed to catch fire in her chest, a burning sensation that boiled in her lungs. Whoa! With a cough, she let it out. Inky blackness erupted from her mouth, curling like a plant sprouting with impossible speed. The growth engulfed the gray mage, and then it flowered. The gray mage's screams were brief before the dark, flower-like flames did their work. Dissolving, the creature slumped to its knees, little more than charred lumps remaining of its extremities. She stared at the body. The full realization of what she had done dawned upon her. Buckling over, she erupted with the recent banquet she had eaten. A moment of relief, and she retched again. Hector. Prude. With effort, she found her feet. Ash exploded out the front door, staring out into the silent white night. Hoofprints were being lost in the falling snow, leading away from the stables, leading to Celeste.
They escaped. Thank the goddess.
Snow crunched behind her. In the darkness, her eyes met a gray, cloaked figure. Silence stood between them. Ash raised the blade with an unsteady arm.
Don't cross me tonight, or I'll end you just like I did the last gray mage.
Whoa, okay. This obviously isn't
That's
the
the
best
color
time for
of
you.
my
We
partner!
can talk later then.
That's the color of my partner, though, right? No, come back! Fuck! Without another word, the figure retreated into the dark. Did that count as a win? Ash decided that would be a yes. Definitely a win. The celebratory mood lasted about as long as it took her to realize there were no horses left. With a groan, she took a deep breath and broke into a slow trot. Her fist was still clutching the black and white blade as though she feared nothing more than losing it. As she ran, though she struggled against them, so too did her thoughts.